Okay, hey there guys. So in this video I just want to go over kind of like how to read nodes, which obviously is just like reading. So I'm not, yeah. But this game has a lot of like very meaty text now in some of the nodes. So I just want to go over that and like how to kind of like pick through it and try to like figure out like what they're actually trying to get at to get you to want to do and stuff like that. It kind of pairs with the last video of like how to pick champions, because right, I mentioned like reading the nodes. So but if you don't like know how to like know what you're looking for, it can still be a pain. So like right, this Silver Surfer in 6.7.3, so right, it has Muscle Wizard, which I remember that node, has Can't Stop Won't Stop, and those two are usually put together when you see them. So I'll go over that in just a second. And then Riot, I think Riot is the new one. So the defender starts the fight with an indefinite unblockable buff. So the key there in that first line is it's a buff. So I already know I want to use a Mystic Champion from Muscle Wizard, but I also definitely want to use a Mystic Champion because of the node Riot, and it's a buff, so I can just bypass that part. Whenever the defender is knocked down by a special attack, the unblockable buff is replaced with an unstoppable buff. Whenever a defender is struck with the first hit of a heavy attack, the unstoppable buff is replaced with an unblockable buff. So buff control. That's really all this one is. And if I remember correctly, with Muscle Wizard, whenever you knock down the defender, you have a 100% chance to gain an unstoppable buff. So you could kind of play this node like Brawl if you really wanted to, but if you just, let's say, used like Doom, when you knock them down with your heavy, you're going to be placing the stagger at the same time and just removing the buff. You can do that with a lot of other different champions as well with Mystic, where like Symbiote Supreme, right when you start the fight, you're going to remove it. So right, you're just looking for like heavy Mystic control. Over here, this was the path that I ran the first one, the Agent Venom, or the, what's it called, Weapon X path. It's a pretty simple one. It's just kind of, you want to just dash in as much as you can. You don't want to be dashing back. I wanted a power control champion. I was just using like Doom and Mags for this, really. Like, there's nothing too special about this path when you look at it at first glance, and there is nothing really there. This next one though. This next one is a Paradox path. So Paradox is obviously something that a lot of people 7.3 weren't too happy with. But so Paradox block, and right with the global node, you don't want to get past 9 of the Paradox charges. You're going to take a fair bit of damage. So whenever you parry, you gain 1 Paradox charge, and those are crossfights. So the attacker gains 30% buff potency for each Paradox, and you remove it when you dex. And then the final part, whenever the attacker strikes the defender, 1 buff on the attacker is nullified. This nullified is disabled with the attack. So you need to balance, you need to be keeping 4 Paradox charges basically on you, or else you're going to be losing a lot of your buffs, but you're also gaining a lot of extra buff potency. So right, you want to be able to balance parrying and dexing very well. You need to be able to like figure that out. Oh, wrong one. Paradox block again. But I'm sorry, apparently my screen share is really far behind right now. That's unfortunate. But it's Paradox block again. Impairment, the attacker gains 30% debuff duration for each Paradox on the attacker. So, if I'm not correct, if I am correct, debuff, once you get to like 5 Paradox in this one, you could just stun lock them. That's kind of cool. Special delivery, power shield, hurt locker, matador. Specials, someone like Hercules will be good here because you can get up to your special 2 and 15 hits with him by like heavying and stuff. And because of hurt locker, you don't want to throw the same ones, but he wants to rotate his specials anyway. Again, I'm sorry about the screen share being really far behind. There's nothing I can really do about it right now. You just have to bear with it, I'm sorry. That's right, power shield, hurt locker, so you just want to be spamming specials a lot. That's basically all there is to this one. Head over to another quest real quick. So that's just kind of like how I like read through a quest node when I'm like looking for which path I want to take. I like look at it, I look at like what each path is kind of looking for. And there's one other big part I want to touch on, and I know a good place to show that one, so I'm just heading there really quickly. It's in the Captain Marvel movie chapter. With these, the energy adoption ones, when there are damage back effects or damage over time effects, a very important part is figuring out what the damage you're taking is based upon. Right? So when you read through this one, there's a 50% chance that you get a shock. That part doesn't matter. But, wait, does it not? Oh, it actually doesn't say how strong the shock, or where the shock is based from here. Does it for Do Not Go Gentle? The attacker gains any damage source of not going to have one charge. If the attack 2 charges are removed with no penalty landing on hit attacks. Equal to the defender's attack. There it is. Under Do Not Go Gentle. So, in Act 6, I can use the energy really quick. I can just show that. In Act 6, the attack pools are really, really big, right? So, a node that is based on the defender's attack, and for this Electro, his attack is almost at 10,000, right? So it's quite a chunky bit that you're going to be taking back. But if it was based off of, let's say, like my attack is literally under half of his. So it's a very big thing to look out for when you're looking at something like that. Same goes for, I think, this quest, for how it's done, because it's quite a chunky damage over time effect that it applies onto you. It's the Mr. Sinister one with Back Blast. You don't want to do more than 5% of the defender's max health. Incinerate damage dealing equal to their last crit over 5 seconds. And because you're doing 5% of the attack defender's health, if you saw in the last one, if you're looking at 5% of like 300,000 basically, it's quite a chunky bit of damage that you're going to be taking because of the way it scales, because of what the number is based off of. Some nodes don't do a great job at showing that, like I think in War, the hazard shift node, I'm going there to check right now, the hazard shift node itself, it doesn't really tell you too much of what the damage, oh wait, no, it does. So it's just 30% of the defender's attack. So because War has fairly high attack ratings, but not like the highest, right? So it's like, it's high, but it's also only a third. So even if it was the 10,000, it's only based off of the 3,000, but it's not even that high. I can actually move up to the boss, and I can just check what like the damage over time effect would be doing if it was on the boss. So with the link, right, okay, it'd be doing 5,000, right? It'd be a 5,000 damage over time effect, because it's 30% of it. Oh shoot, that was further behind than I thought it was. I wasn't looking up at the screen share for a second. So right, it's 15,000 damage, basically, and at 30%, you're looking at 5,000 damage over the 7 seconds. But now with other fights on something like that, you can sometimes get away without having to bring the immunity because of the way it scales. So learning to like look for the indicators like that of what it's based around can be a very big help. And then yeah, the other big thing is learning what the combinations kind of entail. A good one for that is like Cavalier, so I'm just going into a random Cavalier quest. It's just like the easiest one for me to click. Oh, didn't realize my mouse was there the whole time, sorry. So right, if I look at this, it's the mercenary one. That's right. So, right, we went over all this mercenary stuff before, right? You parry, you trigger a bleed, you want to put bleeds on them, the bleed stops the unstoppable. But now, you don't have to be using a mercenary is even what it says. It just states that every 8 seconds the defender gains an unstoppable buff for 4 seconds, unless they are suffering from a bleed debuff or passive when the timer expires. That doesn't say anything about mercenary, and there's also no nodes here about nullify. So you could nullify it, or you can just use any bleed champion, but now you have to worry about Now You See Me. So you need to make sure you can either play with a champion that's really aggressive and you can control their power, so right, a power control and nullify champion like a Mystic, or something where you can play hyper aggressive with just a lot of bleed, something like Gwenpool, right, where you enervate them and then you're just like in them a lot, so you don't have to worry about Now You See Me 1. Something like that, right? Or actually we can stay in this quest. Let's look for the other one. What is it down here? arc overload. Why do they still put that node everywhere? Oh, explosive personality. You cannot be hitting their block, but if you're using a mystic champion for the explosive personality node, you're able to cheese it with even more mystic champions because there's even more buffs for you to take advantage of. So it's quite a nice thing if you can figure out the ways to like cheese these nodes with not the way they're necessarily meant to be cheesed. It's not like a must thing, but it's nice when you can. So figuring out how to read the nodes, because like a lot of these nodes can get like super wordy from Kabam. They've had that issue in recent times where it's like their nodes are just all over the place, just like loads and loads and loads of text, and it's a massive pain for some people to like try to read through. So figuring out like I'm sorry if I hit the mic right there. Figuring out ways you can like speed read through it and get the info you need, or if you want to take your time and read through it really carefully, figuring out ways to like kind of cheese around it, right? Where like there's a lot of buffs on that one lane, or that like with the energy adoption paths, because of the way the damage scales, it's really small damage, so you can use a champion that has energy resist or something like that, or just use willpower and you're going to heal from those debuffs, something like that. But we're something like biohazard, because it's based off of, I believe, the defender's attack or something. I just need to check that now. Will I even be able to? Can you even check that in here? Why did I feel like biohazard was in this quest? Is it in this quest? I swear it is. Am I just going crazy? Oh, it's Caltrops is in this quest. Oh, I am going crazy. My bad. But right, something like Caltrops is kind of a bigger damage node, so you don't want to be like dealing with that too much unless you do have an immunity to that, because of the way it scales. So figuring out that for the damage over time, and figuring out what nodes you can kind of cheese around with using different champions is a very big thing, right? Like some of these nodes, if you see them, they're pretty quick to read, like Limber. Super fast, super short to read. But other nodes that are in like Act 6, Act 7, like there's all the different combinations of them make it take a really long time to read. So I can get that it's a big pain, but that is the type of game this is, with like an RPG style game. So it is just an unfortunate thing you kind of have to get used to and figure out a good way to do for yourself. There's no like one way to read it, but yeah, I kind of like not skimming when looking for the like what path I want to take. I like speeding through it, kind of figuring out the gist of it, and then when I find one I like, I kind of look in at it a little bit more. Because like, right, if you look at this node I'm looking at right now, there is a crazy amount of like text to get through with power suppression, arms race, power snack, feat of power, and special 2 bias. It's quite a few nodes to look through. But if you can remember some of the nodes, or you kind of get the gist of them, or you can just figure out kind of what there are but without having to read through all of it, right? Like power snack is just power buffet. Feat of energy is they just gain a bit of power when you gain a bit of power. Arms race, throw a special, get damage. Right, I'm not having to like read through that like fully all the way. So that'll kind of be it for this video. I hope this video is able to help someone. It's not the hardest thing to be able to pick up as a skill in this game, but I could definitely see this being an issue for some people with trying to figure out like how to read the nodes, because Kabam can get very confusing with a lot of this, right? Whenever a science attacker activates a special attack, they have a 100% chance to enervate the defender for 6 seconds, preventing them from gaining power when struck. Whenever this enervate would expire, it consumes the debuff on the defender to reapply itself. That's quite a bit to like get through, and I feel like if you're especially new to this game, it can be quite intimidating to try to like figure all of that out, especially then when you have to try to combine it in with like other nodes like arms race and stuff. So I 100% get why like some people find it hard to like figure out the nodes 100% by themselves. So I just wanted to try to make this video, see if it could help anyone out. I hope you guys have a good one. Have a good New Year's Eve tomorrow night, guys. Be safe. Bye.